Hey, sorry for not really having the highest production values. I'm filming on New Year's Eve 2019. Thank you so much for joining me. Whenever you watch this, you're probably not even going to watch it on time. I guess I should talk about my favorite games this year. Unfortunately, I will not have recorded footage. It's kind of a miracle that I'm filming this, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I really haven't been into making videos. The intention's there, but whenever I start to think about doing it and whatnot, I just end up deciding to play video games or something like that instead. I already can tell this is an amazing video. I know I'm supposed to tell you to smash the like button and subscribe and talk to you like I'm like a circus clown or something, but I'm not an overly enthusiastic person most of the time in real life. So this is what you're gonna get. So I hope you're all doing well. I hope your year was at least somewhat adequate to whatever your expectations might have been. I'm not going to talk about my year, but hopefully this coming year will be awesome for you guys as well as me. Yeah, if you celebrated the holidays, I hope they were amazing. If you don't celebrate the holidays, I hope you're all doing well. So today we'll be talking about games because, well, it's easier than talking about oneself, especially when it's all over the internet. So it's been a pretty awesome year for games. I know some games have gotten me through some shit actually, but it's gonna be 2020, so it's like been I guess I'm supposed to do like a decade of the best games, but I made a list of those games and I'm not even sure like if it's an honest list, but they were the games that popped in my head, so let's talk about those. Man, I wish I was more enthusiastic. Even like the smaller channels, like the people have more enthusiasm than I do, but I'm really doing this at the last minute. I apologize, and I'm sure I'm supposed to have some gameplay footage injected in, but I'll save those for gameplay videos because I'm briefly going to talk about these. So when I thought about my favorite games over the past 10 years, I actually had to look them up to make sure they actually made the criteria of being within the last decade. But one of the biggest games that I remember fondly that came out within the last 10 years has been BioShock Infinite, and I think it really reinforced my love. What really enforced my love to that game, I'm gonna be correcting myself a lot because I talk like, and then of course there's small interruptions like my phone and stuff like that that could get me completely off track. There's just something really awkward about talking to like a camera, which is almost like this weird Cyclops robot that's staring at you and expecting you to say really significant and profound things that really make you like sit back and really think, but instead like what I'm coming out is pretty comparable to like how underdeveloped toddler might speak. So yeah, so BioShock Infinite, what really won me over is when they came out with the remastered set, and I just remember like how much I loved it. Like I was playing it for the first time, and the DLC was amazing. And I've yet to play BioShock 1 and 2. I know a lot of people think BioShock 1 is the best game in the series, but I don't know. BioShock Infinite, it's just such a beautiful world with such horrible things going on in it, and it has like a Disney aesthetic, and it's just amazing, and I just feel good even though it's like a horrible, almost horror-like game at times, but I don't know, everything in it just feels awesome. And when they came out with the remastered version, which was basically almost as good as the PC version, which I also got the experience, and they're pretty comparable beside the control scheme, but yeah, absolutely love this. This is a newer game, but yeah, just playing it and knowing how it made me feel, and going back and beating it a second time, like right after finishing it the first time. I can't think of a game within the last 10 years that made me do that, and that's the Resident Evil 2 remake, which has been incredible. And if you haven't played it and you don't like Resident Evil games, I would at least try it. There's a demo on PlayStation Network right now that you can play, give you an idea of what it might be, but I don't know. It might be nostalgia playing, but I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait for Resident Evil 3 to come out. The Last of Us, that's another game that I played, and it was awesome. The second time I played it, it felt a little bit easier, which maybe there wasn't as large of a survival element in it that I originally thought. It's just kind of, you kind of have to learn how to play it, and I'm excited about The Last of Us 2 that's coming out in 2020. I think it's coming out in May, but they might change it because I believe it was coming out in February before that. I think that's what they announced. But that was an awesome game. Not only was the gameplay on point, because I mean it kind of is close to the way like the Resident Evil remake played in some ways, so I guess that kind of gameplay really speaks to me. Plus the narrative and the unique take on zombies, and I always kind of like it when games take place in like something that's kind of familiar, although they didn't really cover the game in states that I've not necessarily visited. I always like seeing virtual renditions of things that take place in the US, because honestly I don't, at least a lot of the games I play, I don't see that often, or that like at least speak to me, that aren't like shooting games or whatever. But yeah, like I really liked the dynamic between those characters, and playing it again was amazing. And yeah, I think I beat the game like 3 times maybe. So Life is Strange, that wasn't even on my number 1 when that game came out and I played it, but the more and more I think about it, like I really like that game, and I think it's one of my favorite games of the decade because I still think about it. And now as far as adventure games come, like that's what I hold them up to. Like I haven't finished Life is Strange 2, but I don't even think it lives up to Life is Strange 1. If you're wondering what that weird sound in the background is, that's Gwen drinking water. But yeah, Life is Strange, like the dynamics and the super, super dark theme. Apparently I'm a messed up person because that's something I really appreciate in games. But the dark theme was awesome. The soundtrack, unbelievably amazing and appropriate. It didn't feel like a radio station or something that was on random. And I just really liked the characters, environment, and atmosphere, to the point where I've started collecting the comics that were written after the game, and some books and stuff like that. Like I have like a Arcadia Bay, like half of it's like a yearbook, another half is like a tour guide book, and it's just like I can't get enough of that game. And the more and more I think about it, the more and more like I love it, because maybe the mechanics and everything were kind of like not really significant, but the characters and the story and the writing and everything was amazing, and I highly recommend it. And if you play it and you're not that fond of it, I'd say give it some time. I think you'll know whether you like it or not within the 2nd or 3rd episode. I got my sister Life is Strange and the prequel game Before the Storm for Christmas. I really hope she plays it. Her significant other really likes games with explosions and stuff like that into it, and apparently they have to play games as a couple. I really got it for my sister to play, because I'm sure she doesn't play Call of Duty when he plays it, but whatever. Hopefully she'll experience it in some way, because I'd really be curious what she thought about it, because I really think that it's not the kind of story you would come across often, at least with the games that I've played. Metal Gear Solid 5, unfortunately, it was the last Metal Gear game held by Hideo Kojima, but it was awesome. It did feel like it didn't really have an ending, but that's one of the few games I did not mind playing the same areas over and over again and doing side missions. It was the first Metal Gear where I didn't have to be stealthy. The interactions that you did have with characters and the story were really interesting. It makes me really sad that there's never going to be an official follow-up to any of these games as far as I know, unless something really weird happens. Metal Gear Solid 5 or any of the Metal Gears before that will never capture the same feeling I felt when I played Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation 1. But to be honest with you, Metal Gear Solid 5 has been the game that's captured the enthusiasm closest to when I first played Metal Gear Solid 1. Batman Arkham Knight, I love all the Arkham games. It's ironic because a lot of people received Batman Arkham Knight as the lesser of the games beside Origins, which I don't know what people have against that, except that it wasn't made by Rocksteady and it didn't do anything terribly original. Some people have gripes with the Riddler trophies, which I never go after. I don't care about them. I don't want to spend that much time in them. I just want to play the main story and the Batmobile levels, which I thought were really fun. Everything just in Batman Arkham Knight felt definitive. It, like, every arc felt explored. Every character had some sort of closure. It felt like pretty much the ending of the Batman universe as we know it. Like, it definitely felt like the last edition in the game, and somehow instead of feeling bummed out and like unfulfilled, like when's the next one gonna come out, like it was just fucking amazing. And I just remember playing it and seeing the sun go down and the sun come up again. I was just obsessed with that game and I loved it so much, and the Batmobile levels were great, and I love the fact that you can get the classic Batmobiles and like the Unreal Engine 3, like I thought that like I saw everything that engine could do. I still think it looks better than maybe like 85% of the Unreal Engine 4 games, which have a unique aesthetic. There's very few that take it seriously. The only two games I can think of that might look a little bit better is Gears of War 5 on the Xbox One X. I don't know what it looks like on the Xbox One, but I'm sure it's lower resolution. And Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, which is the only game right now that is even making me remotely debate on the next Xbox system, because I really want to see where that game goes. That game was beautiful. One of the things that stands out to me, besides the amazing facial animation, the captures and all that stuff, is the ocean going in and out. But yeah, Batman Arkham Knight it doesn't look like it's on the Unreal Engine 3. It's a beautiful game. I love it. The sound effects, the voice acting, everything. If you're a fan of Batman, the animated series, and you haven't played that game, what are you doing with your life? Mass Effect 2, that was right on the cusp. I had to look it up to make sure. It came out in 2010, so yeah, just made it. But Mass Effect 2 was the first Mass Effect I played that really made me fall in love with the series. I did play Mass Effect 1, but Mass Effect 1 was kind of consolidated. Like all the places you went to were kind of like small and kind of maze-like and samey and looked the same. Like the ingredients were there, but they weren't really explored, and Mass Effect 2 really did that. It also what's a good way? It was like the middle puzzle piece where like your decisions in Mass Effect 1 affected Mass Effect 2, and then Mass Effect 2's decisions, which is a game I really fell in love with, made Mass Effect 3 amazing. I can't imagine, like, if you had a Wii U and you're playing Mass Effect 3 for the first time, I can't imagine what Mass Effect 3 might have felt like if you didn't have Mass Effect 2 behind it, because there was just so many nods in Mass Effect 3 because of Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 made Mass Effect 3 a better game, which made me love Mass Effect 3, but it was all because of Mass Effect 2, the shooting, the graphics, the environments, the characters, everything was better. Mass Effect 3 was just kind of exploration of more of that. I think the character's name is Edie, like the robot, was the only cool thing, new character I remember about Mass Effect 3, because it looked like a 1950s like robot. But yeah, like, I don't know, that made me fall in love with it, and that made me want to play Mass Effect 3. I didn't have the negative feelings a lot of people did with Mass Effect 3, ending or not ending. Like, it felt satisfying, but Mass Effect 2 is really, I think, the best one in the series that took ingredients from both games and just made it amazing, and I can't say enough. LA Noire, that was like a open world game. The mechanics are really simple, but just the attention to detail, it just felt like time traveling to a different period, and the fact that you could just pick up items and stuff that weren't even important, look at it and explore it, and having the radio stations that are time appropriate and everything, and the costumes and the voice capture, which looks dated now, but it still is really cool. And sometimes when you're pursuing some of the criminals and they're like serial killers or whatever, like, it's legitimately creepier than many horror games that I've played. And the ending was kind of weird and spontaneous, but the journey to get to that ending was amazing. I love, again, how dark it was. It didn't hold back on anything. I'd say that and Life is Strange 2 are probably the darkest games I've ever played. And LA Noire kind of edges it because they don't hold back. Like, corpses are corpses, and they don't hold back on the details. And I love, even though it's kind of simple, and I know some people had issues with it, the pacing, feeling like the detective work and everything took too long, I absolutely loved it. Even the orchestrated soundtrack, the game's original soundtrack, was amazing, and I just love that game so much, and I was happy that they remastered it. It makes me sad that we'll probably never get a sequel unless Rockstar decides to make one, because basically the studio that was working on LA Noire shut down. I think it was like Team Bondi or something. They were working on a game called like Horror of the Orient or something. I believe that's what it's called. I'm not trying to sound shitty or saying something like that. Like, I think that was the game, which I don't know how they would have been able to sell that. But they were going to use the same technology and stuff like that, and it was supposed to be like a spiritual successor to LA Noire. But I would really love to see like all those assets in higher detail, and maybe with the technology upgrade, who knows. We got Max Payne 3 like way later on, and that game was amazing. So hope, even though it didn't sell well, I feel like if Rockstar really worked on it, they could make it awesome. But I don't know, because as much as I love Red Dead Redemption, even though deep down I know it's a good game, there's so many little mechanics that are like making the game convoluted. I just have a really hard time getting into Red Dead Redemption 2, and I hope that they realize the ways of their mistakes, so when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, it's amazing and not convoluted. Which brings me to Grand Theft Auto 5. That game was amazing. I never played the online portion of the game because it just looks like a lot of grinding, and it's just like chaos in the game, and people kind of play their own rules, like, and they kind of make their own events that are going on, like racing games and stuff like that, and it's so chaotic, and there's story content in there I would really like to play, but I don't want to play with other people. But the main single player game I played through the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 version, and they were awesome. I guess if you had to pick, I'd say PlayStation 4. The first person view actually is really cool. The updated graphics are nice with the extra foliage and the animals and stuff like that. I wish it was a little bit longer. I know a lot of people complain that Grand Theft Auto 4 was too long, and that's probably why they shortened it, where I feel like Grand Theft Auto 5 is too short, but I don't know, that's personal opinion. The thing with bogged down Grand Theft Auto 4, which they cut out of Grand Theft Auto 5, was like trying to like manage all these relationships by like picking up these people and going bowling with them, and it was just annoying, and I didn't want to do that. Where this game, there's a lot more to do, and I love the fact that it has like airplanes, helicopters, and submarines, and all this random stuff to explore the world in different ways. And it just was like a refined version of San Andreas, which was probably my favorite Grand Theft Auto game until Grand Theft Auto 4 came out. But the only thing that holds back San Andreas from being behind Grand Theft Auto 4 and my favorite Grand Theft Auto games is really, it's just the old shooting mechanics. I just don't feel like hold up well. They're not fun anymore. I don't like tapping those shoulder buttons to select targets, and obviously the downgrade in graphics compared to 4, although 5 like blows it all away. Even the PlayStation 3 version, like the PlayStation 3 version, if you look at the PlayStation 3 version of Grand Theft Auto 4, like 5 looks like it's on a completely different system. When I played it, it was like blowing my mind. I don't know how they got that much power, especially since Rockstar, I feel like, didn't make the best PlayStation 3 ports until like Grand Theft Auto 5, because I don't know, like everything just kind of looked sharper and popped better in my opinion. And going back and getting the 360 version of Red Dead Redemption, the first game on Xbox 360, after playing the PlayStation 3 for so long, it looks so much better on a 360. So seeing that port, actually possibly having the better looking port on PlayStation 3, or at least on par, like that was amazing. And just the amount of detail, and that's a game that I can play over and over again and it still feels fun and fresh. And my last game, I was like trying to look like, what is the last game? Like I said, this is a quick list, so I don't know if it's a definitive list, but everybody's making one. So I was like, I need them views. I better make a top 10 games of the last decade too. So in order to finish it, I just picked Sonic Mania because that captured the magic more than any retro themed game that I've played. Like that felt like Sonic 4 to me. It is the best Sonic game I've ever played. It's 2D. It looks like it's 16-bit. It actually looks like if they made a 2D game on either 32X or the Sega Saturn. The soundtrack's amazing. I don't mind visiting the old levels. They're like remapped, and you can play the same level and go a different route by accident, and it's a completely new experience. I love how the soundtrack's the original soundtrack in the beginning, and then on the second zone, like it's this remix soundtrack that's amazing. I love the original levels. I love having the mid bosses, and it's just everything I ever wanted in a Sonic sequel. And there's just little subtle changes in the animation now. When like Sonic like goes onto a spring, he like rotates when he goes up. It's just, I don't know. It's a love letter that anybody that like grew up playing Sonic on the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive, depending on where you're from, and it is by far my favorite 2D game that I've probably played, probably within, gosh, the last 20 years. The last 2D game that I played that I enjoyed as much as Sonic Mania was probably Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I believe that was 20 years ago. But that's your marker if you need one. Although Klonoa was pretty awesome, but that was around the same time too. But yeah, so that's the last 10 games of the decade. Now, I picked some favorite games that came out this year. I'll go through them fast, but these are the games I enjoyed throughout this year that I really liked and I recommend. I'm not going to go into detail, I'm just going to list them. So Death Stranding, I really did enjoy. I know a lot of people were iffy about it, but I think I haven't finished it yet, but it's such a weird game. I said I wasn't going to go into it, but I will with this one, so hear me out. It was just I can't recommend it for anybody because I can totally see why you would see it was boring and repetitive and why you would want to play a virtual UPS person, but just the environments and everything and just seeing what's going on in the world, to me it's really interesting, and that's what keeps me going, and it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Days Gone, open world zombie game, could get a little repetitive with the getting gas or petrol depending on where you're from, but it's kind of cool, and I really liked it. I haven't finished it yet. I haven't finished most of these games, so we'll just pretend that's a given. Samurai Showdown, that was awesome, a cool 2D fighting game. Division 2, I really like it. Maybe I like it because it looks more familiar because it takes place in DC, which is fairly close to Virginia. It's actually right beside it where I live, and it's just more the same except more refined. Pokemon Sword, I really like it. It's like a 3D version of the Game Boy games I played. What more do you want? The Outer Worlds, really like that one. It's a more streamlined version of Fallout without as much survival aspects in it. So items and guns and shit like that aren't as rare. You get to progress, I feel like, easier, and I can't wait to play more of it. It's really awesome. A Plague Tale, a story-driven kind of platformer / puzzle survival game. Really enjoy it. Absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to play more of it. Most of these games, I can't wait to play more of it. Link's Awakening, a 3D remake of my favorite Zelda game of all time, which is ironically on the monochrome Game Boy, which I thought it was fantastic. Devil May Cry 5, best Devil May Cry game, since this is going to piss a lot of people off with DMC, which I really love. Ninja Theory made that, who also made Hellblade, which I also love a great deal. Devil May Cry feels like it borrowed from that in the old games. It's the perfect mix, and it's running on the RE engine, which means it looks absolutely beautiful, and it's pretty much what I've been waiting for a sequel since Devil May Cry 1. Because Devil May Cry 3 was pretty sweet. I was kind of iffy on 2 and 4. I won't lie to you, I kind of liked 2 more than 4. That's going to be like a decisive opinion right there. Crystar, it's really simple, but it's a really interesting action JRPG. I really like it and spent way more time on it, like while playing it in one sitting, than I would ever thought that I would. I figured it'd be a game I played a little bit here and there until I eventually beat it, but I love it. It's beautiful. I love the artwork, the anime style. I love the theme of going into the afterlife. Amazing. Can't recommend it enough. But you have to be somewhat into not minding playing cutesy like JRPG like graphics and stuff like that. If you can get over that and like the repetitive nature of the graphics, so the graphics aren't mind-blowing, the aesthetics of the art style wins you over, if that makes any sense. Metro Exodus, I do kind of wish it was more linear like the old Metro games, which I absolutely adored. I really need to play more Metro Exodus. It still feels like a Metro game, but it's a little overwhelming to me for that type of game that it's open world, but I still want to play more of it, and it's awesome so far. It really screams the quality, and every time I play it I get sucked in. It's just at first, like, it starts out linear, and then when it opens up, it's like, what do I do? I'm used to like picking between 2 tunnels. There were a few open areas in Metro Last Light. It's like more of the open worlds where you can die super easy, which I guess since it's a Metro game that makes sense. But it is kind of nice at the same time to see outside and stuff like that. Rage 2. More open world, more options. If you play it on console, I would definitely recommend trying to play it on the Xbox One X or the PlayStation 4, because I heard the other ones weren't at 30, so I can't recommend that one because I don't know what it feels like to play it at 30 frames per second. I only played the 60 frame per second version, but it's Rage. I don't like the color scheme. I think it's kind of desaturated and weird and pastel colored like, and I apparently did this. But yeah, I liked it a lot, and even though Avalanche Studios made it, it really still feels like a id Software game, and it's awesome. I'm glad they make a sequel. They made a sequel, and I hope that they make another one, because I thought it was awesome, even though apparently a lot of people didn't play it. Mortal Kombat 11, it's more of the same. It looks better than Mortal Kombat X, but it's a little slower paced. It almost feels like Tekken in a way. Tekken or Dead or Alive is not as fast paced as the other Mortal Kombat's, but it still works. You can kind of expect more of the same. It's just a better looking version. I can't really describe fighting mechanics that well. You'd have to play it on your own, but if you like any of the other Mortal Kombat's, especially X, I definitely try it. Some people don't like it because it's slower paced, but I think it's awesome. Borderlands 3. I can't really comment on the single player portion because, I mean, the multiplayer portion, because I play it like a single player game, but just playing as a single player game, it's more of the same. It's not like this graphical overhaul that you would expect for Borderlands 3, but I really like the characters. It's really cool to visit other planets. I haven't played it in a while. I don't know if they improved any of the traveling aspects, but that's my only complaint, is that I thought that it was kind of convoluted as far as traveling and trying to figure out where your missions are versus what planet you're on and stuff like that. And beside that, another gripe would maybe be that the bosses are like way higher leveled up than the enemies in the level, so it's ridiculous, like the jump from enemy to boss. I know the bosses are supposed to be harder. I heard they balanced that out a little bit more, and it was only with certain bosses, but sometimes you'd fight like a boss that was ridiculously overpowered that didn't seem like they belonged in that level. It's like if you played a video game, right? Let's say you play Castlevania, and instead of fighting the bat in the first level, you had to fight the Grim Reaper or Dracula, and you're like, what? I didn't earn my way to get to this skill level yet. And I don't know, like, I appreciate grinding and stuff like that, but I think it requires you to grind too much in order to fight those bosses. But I heard that was unbalanced, and they fixed it since then. Call of Duty Modern Warfare was pretty awesome, although short, but it felt more like Battlefield, which I really appreciated. Online felt a little bit better, more like Battlefield. I haven't played a ton of online, but it felt really good where I was actually winning somewhat, which is I get destroyed in Call of Duty, where I can at least win sometimes in Battlefield. And it felt good. The graphics are good. In the campaign, which they added last year's Call of Duty didn't have a campaign, so it was awesome, and it was short but really cool, and I hope that they continue going in that direction. And that's all I have to say about that. I really wish they'd remaster Black Ops 1 though. That was like the best Call of Duty beside Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, which this is kind of a prequel of, even though they call it like a reboot, unless they plan on retelling the story of Call of Duty 4, which wouldn't make any sense because it came out with a remastered version not too long ago. So I don't know what they do. I just hope that they realize that single player campaigns are important, and they continue to keep with the tinker mechanics and stuff, because I think it's nice that it feels different, and your guns don't feel like paper airplanes where they're super light and don't have any weight to them. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has been amazing. I'm still actually playing it. I plan on playing it after this video. It's awesome. I hate Dark Souls games. It does have the fighting style of those kind of games, but it's a little bit more forgiving because I can actually progress, and I didn't put it on the easiest difficulty. On PlayStation 4 at least, or PlayStation 4 Pro, it's a little bit glitchy. Yesterday I was playing and I got a little bit frustrated. It crashed on me for no reason, but it doesn't happen that often, so I'll give it a pass. But it's really cool to play a single player Star Wars game. I like it. I really wish they would like make some sort of first person action game, because I feel like lightsaber stuff has been done to death. but the environments are really cool, especially when you're exploring derelict things from like past wars and stuff like that. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool if they had like darker aspects like that and creepy atmospheres, especially in first person, or at least have a level like that. Like, I would love to see more of that. I would actually like to see some more games take place in the sequel trilogy and the Knights of the Old Republic kind of world. Like, I would like to see those things be explored more. And beside that, like, it has like mechanics of, God, I can't talk, Dark Souls, and then it has Uncharted and / Tomb Raider gameplay. Puzzles are a little bit more complex than I think like current Uncharted and Tomb Raider games. At least I thought they were. They weren't hard, like super difficult or anything, but I felt like they required more thinking than those games, which I've finished all of those games, so I know what I'm talking about. So, Control, that game's awesome. That's made by Remedy, who's made the first 2 Max Payne games, Alan Wake, which is an amazing game. I almost put that on other lists, but I couldn't remember when it came out. I don't know if it made the 2010 criteria or not. But yeah, that game was awesome. But I thought about it after I already made the list. I was like, oh, too late. But they made that, and then there's Quantic Break, I think is what it's called. I haven't played it yet, but yeah, Control is really awesome, and it has that weird storytelling that all the other Remedy games do, and it's awesome. Kingdom Hearts 3 is really cool, although some worlds I think are a missed opportunity, like the Frozen world and Monsters Incorporated. Sometimes the game, I swear, it looks like a PlayStation 2 game. You're like, man, they didn't do, sorry, I can't talk today. And even though it's New Year's Eve, if you can believe it, I haven't been drinking. I'm just talking like this because I'm just awkward in front of the camera. But anyway, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, sometimes it looks awesome, and then like you go to Frozen and Monsters Incorporated, and it looks like a freaking PlayStation 2 game at times. So maybe an early PlayStation 3 game. And then you're like, oh, this game's graphics kind of suck, which is really surprising because it's been in development for so long. And then the next level, when you're in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, all of a sudden everything looks like decent CGI, like Monsters Incorporated and Frozen did on the actual movies, not the gameplay scenes. And you're just like, different development teams work on this, but it's really fun and nice to finally have a conclusion to the story. And even though sometimes the levels look bland, there's other levels that make up for it, so you just have to be patient to get through the bland levels, and it's really fun and fulfilling. And I'm not even a terribly huge Disney fan, but I've been playing Kingdom Hearts since I was like in the 10th or 11th grade. I'm thinking almost 12th. I don't know. I'm freaking aging myself. I was in high school when the first game came out, and I started playing the game when I was 30. Like, to finally play the game at like 34, we'll stick with that. My birthday was later on after I stopped playing Kingdom Hearts, so we'll say to finally be able to finish the game at 34. And I believe they're coming out with DLC with it as well. It was quite some time, and of course they released other games on other systems, which I have, that I haven't even bothered to play because I really don't care that much about the convoluted story. But whenever I want to explore them, I do have the options because they are there, because I got all those Kingdom Hearts games with the decimals, and I'm just like, Kingdom Hearts 2.5 to the 5th power. Oh yeah, gotta see what happens in that one. Alright, number 2, I don't know why I'm saying number 2, like this wasn't really in any order. Bloodstain, actual Kickstarter that felt amazing. It did feel like the spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night. It does make me sad that it isn't sprite artwork. It is all 3D rendered. That's the only thing. The soundtrack's amazing. The enemy design's amazing. There was some slowdown and some recycled environments was kind of a letdown, considering it was supposed to be the spiritual successor of my favorite game of all time, which is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So to see like some things recycled over and over again in 3D, which I don't know, like you're trying to do like an animated art style with 3D graphics in a 2.5D plane, it just looks somewhat bland. But all in all, like the gameplay's on point. They got the gameplay down pat, and that's really what matters. The enemy designs and everything were pretty creative. I do wish they, like, if they come out with a sequel, the assets aren't recycled enough. And you're like, wait, Mikey, they came out with the inverted castle and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Isn't that recycling the assets? Yeah, but all the enemies were new. It was still hand-drawn sprite work, and that a completely new soundtrack and all this stuff, and it was just different enough where it felt fresh. Where this is like a palette swap of like the same enemies and same backgrounds for the most part, and that was kind of a letdown. But in my mind, I don't think there'll ever be a game that's going to be better than Symphony of the Night, but Bloodstained came pretty damn close, and it's better than any Metroidvania official Castlevania sequel that I've ever played. So I was very happy with that. And number one was, again, it's just at the top of the list. These shouldn't be in any order. I don't know why. I think I started to number them because I was going to switch the numbers around once I made a list, but then I went way over 10. So I'm like, screw it, I'm going to make a list. But yeah, the last one on my list was Resident Evil 2, and I already told you why it was already amazing, so I don't need to go in further into that. I know my speech was all over the place because I'm super tired, and I don't know, I'm just really anxious talking in front of this camera. Actually, I'm like kind of stressed out and stuff like that because, I don't know, it's just another year's gone by, and hopefully this year will be better. So sorry if I was all over the place. I promise I'm not on anything, and I don't know why I need to justify myself. I'm not this awkward in real life. At least I hope I'm not. But yeah, that was my list. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you continue to watch this channel. I hope you appreciate that I have made some effort to make one last video before the end of the year. Hopefully I'll get on making more videos and stuff like that where I'm less tired and stuff like that. I've been getting sleep. I just think I'm mentally exhausted just from overthinking, and when you're trying to do a video and then trying to describe like, I don't know, like 50 different games. I didn't count how many were on the list. Like, it's a lot. I don't know, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. Sorry it was amazing, but I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully the next video will be better. Talk to you guys later. Take care. If this somehow posts before the new year starts, Happy New Year. If you don't want to think about it being a new year or whatever, then hope you have a good day. Alright, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe! Thanks for watching!